Vedasi Vinapekshayatihina Sakala Sahani Bolo diya karo Nijamane Sriha Hina Sakala Sahani Bolo diya karo Nijamane Sriha Hina Vipavindu diya karo Vedasi Vinapekshayati Hina Vipavindu diya karo Vinapekshayati Hina
Now you are in touch.
Sakale Samana Kurotires Devunata Jata Jata Sakale Samana Kurotesha Kaki Devunata Jata Tabe to Gaibo Harinama Sukhe Tabe to Gaibo Harinama Sukhe Aparada Habe Ata Aparada Habe Deki Pandodiya Oro Edasi Vinapekshati Hina Vinapekshayati Paveheno Kripa Labhyai Jana Vikarta Hoi Venata Paveheno Kripa Labhyai Jana Vikarta Hoi Venata Shakti Buddhihina Amiyati Hina Buddhihina Amiyati Hina Shakti Buddhihina Amiyati Hina Buddhihina Amiyati Hina Oro Moriya Sata Oro Moriya Kichanahi pai Hamara karuna sara Yata vichare Kichanahi pai Hamara karuna sara Daya Rama Dojat Vichare Kichanahi pai Kamara Karuna Sara Dojat Vichare Kichanahi pai Kamara Karuna Sara Karuna Hale Kandiya Kandiya Karuna Hale Kandiya Kandiya Pranara Kibo Vinapekshayati Hina Gurudre Kripa Bindu Diya Gurudre Bhase Vinapekshayati Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Vaishnava Thakura Jaya Rasagara Tera se Koruna Kori Priya Pada Chaya Sodhirama Mangalacarana Gauri Vaishnava Thakura Jaya Rasagara Tera se Koruna Kori Priya Pada Jaya Sodhirama Mangalacarana Gauri Jaya Vegadame Jaya Dasa Suji Jaya Guna Deho Dase Jaya Sata Sangha Deho Rama Sange Royate Jaya Dasa Suji Jaya Guna Deho Dase Sangha Deo Amare Sangero Rase Ekakya Malam Nadi Paya Balam Hari Nama Sankirtane Tumi Kripa Kori Shraddha Bindu Krishna Namadani Naripaya Dara Harinama Sankirtane Tumi Kripa Kori Shara Bindu Dila Krishna Namadani Krishna Namadani Deho Krishna Namadani Deho Krishna Namadani Krishna Namadani Deho Krishna Namadani Deho Krishna Namadani Krishna se tomar Krishna dite para Tumhara Shakti Ache Ami to Ganga Krishna Krishna Boli Dali Kava Pache Pache Tumhara Krishna dite para Tumhara Shakti Ache Ami to Ganga Krishna Krishna Boli Pache Pache Dari Kava Pache Pache Dari Kava Pache Pache Tumhara Shakti Ache Dari Kava Pache Pache Dari Kava Pache Pache Tumhara Shakti Just need to set time for
Anybody else would like to lead? Nikai Bhajan?
Okay, do Parvat Karo.
We'll read that together.
And then maybe Krishna Bhakti. And then they're gonna have to be helping so they have time for the money show and then buy and stuff. And wait for which page?
Karuna Bhagavati Chandra Nitai Gaura Chandra Karuna Bhagavati Chandra Nitai Gaura Chandra Sabhavatara Sarashiromani Balananda Kala Sarashiromani Balananda Kala Bhajo Chaitanya Nita Sudeta Viswasa Kori Bhajo Chaitanya Nita Sudeta Viswasa Kori Visaya Chadiya Sera Se Majiya Chadiya Sera Se Majiya Bolo Hari Hari Bolo Hari Hari Dekore Bhai Tribhuvane Ma Emona Dayala Data Dekore Bhai Tribhuvane Ma Emona Dayala Data Supati Jure Pasana Vidare Jure Pasana Vidare Sijhara Guna Data Samsare Majiya Rahili Podiya Separe Natilo Asa Magia, Rohini Padia, Separe Nadio, Apana Karama, Munjaye Samana, Apana Karama, Munjaye Samana, Ahaye Lochana, Dhasa. Parama Karuna Bahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Bahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Saba Avatara Sara Shiromani Avatara Sara Shiromani Avatara Sara Shiromani Avatara Sara Shiromani Evalananda Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Nita hai Gaura hai Nita hai Gaura hai Nita hai Gaura hai Nita hai Gaura hai
Would you like to say? Stay here. Stay here. Yes.
Anybody want to? Any bhajan? Krishna bhajan? Maharaj, Krishna bhajan?
He seems so nice, you know?
No.
Yeah.
You always have speakers will be reluctant because voice.
Yeah.
Every time
I
people are
meant to
speaking,
say-
yeah.
Same advice.
Say,
Yeah.
too many Zooms.
Oh, yeah.
Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande 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 Krishna Deva Manasa Madhukara Arpajani Japada Pantajam Charande Manasa Madhukara Arpajani Japada Pantajam Charande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Yadyapi samadhiso vidyate pasyate natava natagamarichi Yadyapi samadhiso natava natagamarichi Idami chani nishamatavachyuta tadapi kripa bhutavichi Idami chani nishamatavachyuta tadapi kripa bhutavichi Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Bhakti-udam chati Rajati Madhava Rajai Mamati Lamati Bhakti-udam chati Rajati Madhava Rajai Mamati Lamati Parameshwarata Tadapi Tavadika Sugata Gatana Vidhati Parameshwarata Tadapi Tavadika Sugata Gatana Vidhati Krishna Deva Bhavantam Krishna Deva Bhavantam Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Ayam Yada Sanatana Karita Bhutara Sabaram Yada Sanatana Karita Bhutara Sabaram Sivashatuni Kani Amritani Dini Pingana Madhuri Masara Sivashatuni Kani Amritani Dini Pingana Madhuri Masara Krishna Deva Bhavantam Krishna Deva Bhavantam Krishna Deva Bhavantam Page 104. Okay. I'm going to swap.
Yeah.
Ramani Shiromani Rishabhanona.
So you're going to broadcast on. Okay, so then I want, instead of doing our own broadcast, I'll just share yours from our page. Okay, so I so I can just share a link directly. Oh, yes, there it is.
Krishna Kanayalal ki jai, Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai, Shila Gurudeva ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Vaishnava Thakur ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanande. So I have the good pleasure to introduce Maharaj. We met, I really determine how long ago. It seems like a long time ago because we, for some time, were talking pretty regularly in between his travels, my travels, and different Puja Padmanabha Maharaj, from all of our conversations and from much of the Hari Katha that I've seen him speak, I was always very impressed by two phenomena especially. One is that in spite of being so vastly learned, that he was so humble, and that in every place, in every situation that I've seen his Hari Katha, that his ability to completely satisfy the doubts of all the devotees, and at the same time do so in a manner that was always filled with a kind of humility has been really, really pleasing. So by his causeless mercy, it allowed me to have some junior friendship to him, and we've many times exchanged conversations about various things. And when I found that he was coming to the Salatu area, he wrote to ask me if it's possible to have the association of devotees here at Radha Govinda, and I told him not in management anything, but I will do my best to arrange with the devotees here that they'll have an opportunity to hear his Hari Katha. I also was looking forward to a chance to meet, because I think the entire year and a half or whatever it's been has been all virtual. So because of pandemic and so many things, and also because of scheduling or something, we've never actually had the face-to-face meeting. So we had our first hug today. So I feel very blessed and very, very inspired. Also, I think many devotees have come with him. Mataji, I know I spoke to your husband also many times online and so forth, and I felt very blessed by his association, conversations around Sandarbhas and so many things. But this is the wife of Shridula Chandra Prabhu, and he's, your name, Mataji?
Bhakti Rasa.
Bhakti Rasa Mataji. And Mataji, your name as well?
Sumati.
Sumati. And we met, I think, back in the 70s. So I was probably 70 pounds lighter, much cuter, all these different things. Anyway, so, but very nice that so many devotees have also come with Maharaj. And Mother Indrani's here, and I didn't know it, but you know, besides the glories of her being here, she knew, I think, Archana City Didi well from Baltimore, and I didn't know she's living here now. So it'd be very nice. Oh, you know her for many years as well. So just, oh, from Baltimore, yes, yes. So just very wonderful. We very much appreciate that Maharaj would take time because there's also other classes that are going on, that he would take time also and come to the Mandir and speak some GAURA-Katha, especially during this time of Rat Yatra and everything. Mahaprabhu's mood and everything is very, very important. So devotees, please welcome Maharaj very kindly with your heart and your ears. And Maharaj, again, next week, Saturday and Sunday, correct? So just so we know the schedule. The schedule is, yes, today, then tomorrow, Sunday program. Next week, also, same thing, Saturday and Sunday program. And Maharaj is also having programs during the week. You can go onto Facebook and you see those programs. Or either Didis can say when those programs are, maybe to devotees afterwards. Yeah. And devotees who would like, if there's, you know, obviously want to make sure it's okay to go. If it's okay to go, then devotees are welcome then to go. So Dhanamat Maharaj.
Haribol. I also want to welcome Maharaj to Alacha. I met Maharaj in Peru when we went on a little tour with Bhakti Srila Maharaj, and Maharaj came to see Srila Maharaj, and it was so ecstatic to be with him and meet him. So he's very sweet Vaishnava, so I'm very happy to see him here. Hari.
I was his surprise translator.
Yes,
Remember?
I gave up.
Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Shreshtam Manumapi Satchiputram Matra Swarupam Rupam Tasya Grajamarupurim Matharim Gastavatim Radha Kundam Gidivaram Maho Radhikamadhavasham Rapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tamma Tasmi Vancha Kalpataru Vyashta Kripa Sindhuvyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nikhila Shruti Mole Ratnamala Diti Nirajita Padapankajanta Aji Mukta Kulairupashyamanam Paritasvam Harinam Samshrayami Narpita Charim Chirat Karunayavatirna Kalam Samarpaitamannata Balarasam Svabhakti Srim Hari Purata Sundara Dhyuti Kadamba Sundipitaham Sada Hridaye Kandaresh Purato Vasachinandana Jhanulambita Vujjo Kanakavadato Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Dijavaro Jugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Dhadini Shakti Swarupaya Gauranga Suridaya Cha Bhakta Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namastute He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Radhe Vrindavanadi She Karunamrita Vahine Kripaya Nijabadabja Dashanmayam Pradiyatam Bhaktya Vihinaya Aparada Lakshaye Chitta Shakamaditarangamadi Kripa Maitam Sharanam Prapanam Vinde Maste Charanarvindam Vinde Maste Charanarvindam Shila Gurudev Ki Jai Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Ji Ki Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Praman. So, pranam to all of you. Good evening. Thanks so much for your invitation, for allowing me to have your Sangha and to try to serve you somehow in the form of Harikatha. I'm really humbled and honored by the words mentioned by Mukunda Prabhu. I'm his junior, no doubt about that, just in case I want to clarify that. And he's my senior, just to put things in place. So I feel very blessed by having to get to meet him first time, as well as all of you, some old friends, some new friends, whatever the prospect is equally exciting. Old friends exciting, see them again, new friends exciting, see them for the first time. And for me, this is a very important, beautiful lesson that, of course, all of our Guru Vargas want to teach us about this possibility of unity and diversity in our Vaishnava family. I always remember very fondly how Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj will say that we all belong to Gaur Parivar, basically. So that's our family. in the context of that, we can present so many branches and technicalities and names, but the gist of it all is one single family. As he would like to say, also the very first member of International Society for Krishna Consciousness is Brahma. Trying to make this point. We may call it ISKCON, we may call it this or that, but Gaudiya, Sampradaya, Gaudiya, Parivar, all of us belong to one family, one heart, if you will. Our heart is with Mahaprabhu, this is the day of our Gaudiya Sampradaya and all that he has to offer. I'm just coming a few weeks, this last week, from, interestingly, I've been 2 weeks in an ISKCON temple in Michigan. So they invite me there. At the end of the visit, I shared that the other day. It was funny because the devotees were telling me, Maharaj, they were asking when I was going to return, and I told them I'm still here. No? So, but you are asking me, I mean, I'm already here again, but they were insisting, like, but Maharaj, what to do? And we feel that you are part of our family now. And I say, what to do? I feel the same. And kind of chuckling, I told them, but I belong to a different institution. No problem? Is that? And all of us were laughing, of course, no? Like realizing institutionally we may be into different compartments, but we can occupy the same heart compartment at the same time. So we can belong to two institutions, but to one family. No? So different in many ways, but one in heart. So if we are one in heart, all the differences can be accommodated. Bring all the difference in the world you want, we can accommodate them. Actually, we need those differences to bring forth harmony and taste, as they say. Diversity is the variety, is the spice of life. Not too much spice because the whole masala is ruined. So enough variety in the context of unity. So the common unity we have with Mahaprabhu in the center is what makes us sharing this common cause. So we belong to this same heart, and that's what actually ultimately we are joining. We are not joining an institution, we are joining a heart. That happens to be in a particular institution, and therefore we end up in that institution, but because there is one heart that is beating in a particular way, that is making our heart beat in a particular way, and everything else follows accordingly. But we should never lose sight, where do we actually belong? And that has to be only in terms of heart-to-heart connection. And so I'm very happy to have another chance, yet another chance of expanding this concept in practice, walking the talk in the association of all of you. So I'm very grateful for you for giving me this opportunity. So also I'm grateful to Mukunda Prabhu for inviting me to speak about GAURA-Katha. It's a really important topic and dear topic for me to speak, and I'm sure not only for me. It's funny because I've recently published a book, not about GAURA-Katha, as you may know, and I'm supposed to be doing a tour promoting the book, but actually I'm mostly speaking about the second book I have already in mind, which is about Mahaprabhu. So it happens like that. So I had already that in mind, and I cannot avoid but trying to share some GAURA-KATHAMRITA. And Mukunda Prabhu is inviting me, you can speak about some GAURA-Katha. Say, okay, I don't think that will be a tapasya for me. So again, Sriman Mahaprabhu is the Istadeva of our Sampradaya. So with great pleasure and hopefully respect and proper humility and focus, I'll try to share some words about Sriman Mahaprabhu. The series were announced as Gaur Lila Katha, but I would like, with your permission, to focus, at least to begin with, a little bit more about Gaur Tattva before we proceed to Gaur Lila. Because as you know, Lila, as my Guru Maharaj likes to put it, Tattva or Siddhanta is like the canvas on which the drama of Lila is painted. So Lila is like a dramatic moving depiction, but it has a canvas, or it has a, if you want to see Lila as a dramatic performance, which it is, it's a play, but there's a stage on which the Lila is performed. And that stage is Tattva and Siddhanta. If we take that out, the whole drama falls, disappears. And so it's very important to somehow lay a foundation Tattvic Siddhantic foundation of who Mahaprabhu is. And for us Gaudiyas, Mahaprabhu again is not, of course, we consider him as a bridge to Krishna Lila, if you will, but also he's a destiny unto itself. So Mahaprabhu is not only the means, but also is a goal unto itself. So I would like to elaborate a little bit on these days about this topic, so we can appreciate properly the different emotions, different bhavas that are played out in the context of Lila, because Lila basically is that. Lila is Bhagavan, Bhakta and Bhagavan interacting in the context of bhava, of transcendental emotion. And before we reach the stage of bhava, and we are sadhakas going through the motions of sadhana bhakti, I would say arguably a good way that I like to define sadhana bhakti, of course we can say so many things, kriti sadhya bhavit sadhya and so on, but I would say sadhana bhakti is a theoretical appreciation of bhava bhakti, educating ourselves about those emotions that actually constitute our goal to attain in sadhana. So also interestingly, apart from Mukunda Prabhu's recommendation and my own inclination to split GAURA-KATHA, I've recently seen one video that was compiled, I think, by disciples of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj about Mahaprabhu, if I'm not mistaken, like a long one, almost like an hour or something. So, and recently I was also reading some of his books, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the original form of Godhead, and I think the speciality of the gift of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, short booklets about Sriman Mahaprabhu. So it all came kind of together. Then his disciples are opening the doors to share some GAURA-KATHA. So I'd like to share some of those thoughts, that also some of them I shared, interestingly, also in Bhakta-Bandha, upstate New York, when Rasik Mohan Prabhu is there and the devotees. They invited me also very generously, and the topic was GAURA-KATHA. So there is no, I don't think you are pre-arranging all this behind my back. So it sounds more mystical. I don't think so. It is mystical in itself. So I'd like to begin sharing some words regarding one of the famous pranam mantras we employ to try to dedicate ourselves unto the feet of Sriman Gaur Sundar, presented to us by the Goswamis. Namo Mahabhudanyaya Krishna Prem Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Trishe. Trying to unpack a little bit the implications of this verse. I really consider it's very much important that we know how to play out the implications of Shastra. We have quotes, we have words, we have syllables, but all of them are bottomless. They have no end. Chaitanya Charitamrita is saying the same thing. Krishna Tulya Bhagavat Vibhu Sarvashraya Krishna Pratishloke Pratyakshare Nanartaka. Thank you. So Srimad Bhagavatam, non different from Hari, from Bhagavan, and every single shloka, every single syllable has unlimited possibilities of interpretation. So of course, if you speak about Srimad Bhagavatam, the natural extension of the Bhagavatam is what's sometimes called Chaitanya Bhagavat. The Gaur Lila is a natural extension of Krishna Lilas. We'll see. The Srimad Bhagavatam brings us to the feet of Gaur Lila. The very last verse of Bhagavatam says what? Namasan Kirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranasanam, and so on. Last verse. Namasan Kirtanam, just glorifying Sankirtan and throwing us at the feet of Sriman Mahaprabhu. No? Bhagavad Gita ends, as we know, conclusion, Sarva Dharmam Parityaja. Bhagavad Gita throwing us at the feet of Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharma Prahita Kaitavo, which is basically the same thing. Where the Gita concludes, the Bhagavatam begins. Where the Bhagavatam concludes, Naman Sankirtanam Jasya, Gaur Lila explodes, if you will. So it's a very important connection that we as Gaudiyas need to do. So this verse, Namo Mahavadanyaya, and so on, is basically depicting Mahaprabhu's Nam, Rupa, Guna, and Lila. These four classical categories, if you want to put it. in different order, in this case, Mahavadanya, his guna, his quality of being the most magnanimous. Krishna Prem Pradaya, that's his lila. Extensive distribution of divine love, Krishna Prem. Krishna Chaitanya, that's his name, that's his name. GAURA-KATHAMRita, that's his rupa, that's his form. So, to begin with, a brief words about each of them. So the first term of the verse is Nam Mahavadanyaya. So unto him who is Mahavadanya avatar, or avatari, we Gaudiyas will say that Mahaprabhu is not only avatar, but avatari, the very source of all avatar, being non-different from Krishna himself. As we know, the Bhagavatam teaches us Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. That's the Paribhasha Sutra of the Bhagavatam. That's the king of all statements around which all the other statements of the book revolve. And for us, Mahaprabhu is not different from Raja Krishna himself. Actually, Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself in a very unique emotional moment, if you will. Krishna with a very unique type of necessity and adopting a very unique way of trying to fulfill that necessity. So he feels, my life is successful. We are trying to make our life successful. Krishna is not an exception to that rule. He's also trying to make his life successful. For us, Gaur Lila represents that fulfillment, basically. So, Mahavadanya Avatar means he's the most merciful, divine descent. That's his guna, that's his quality. And I always remember Sri Gaur Govinda Maharaj describing, okay, what's Mahavadanya? Means he who's given the highest thing, two conditions. Highest thing, and you can imagine the second condition. Yeah, because if I'm giving the highest thing to the highest people, I'm just part of an elite only. Or if I'm giving the lowest thing to the lowest people, that's not very generous either. No? But if I'm giving the highest thing to even to the lowest personalities, that's the only way you can explain how someone like me sitting here speaking Gaura-Katha. And it's only bottomless mercy of Sriman Mahaprabhu. So it may be difficult to conceive what's the highest, but at least for me, it's not that difficult to conceive what's the lowest. It's just a matter of looking for a minute at my own situation, so I can conceive, starting from home, if you will, here. So I can start to conceive the dimension of the gift. I mean, it's important, not in a neurotic way, because also I know that these ideas of I'm the lowest can lend to a type of dysfunctionality in the name of humility, but humility is not a neurosis. Humility should be a quality, and not a quality, again, that is sending you to the madhouse because you went neurotic about trying to be humble in an unnatural way. But bhakti is a gift. So the more we become aware of how less we deserve that gift, we'll naturally be humble. I remember once someone asked my Guru Maharaj that, like, how we can be humble in bhakti? Like the question implied, it's so difficult. It's resulting, it's very difficult, at least for the one who was asking the question, you could feel that. And he basically replied saying, I mean, bhakti is such a gift that if you realize how less you deserve the gift and how much the gift is still coming to you, you cannot but be humble. Basically, if you realize the nature of the gift, that's humbling in itself immediately. The fact that we are not humble means we'll have lost sight of how this is a gift and how it's coming from above, and it's not that we have done this and that to deserve and whatever, demand mercy. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, you know, he expresses his humility in a pretty intense way. Jagai Madai Haite Monise Papischa, Purishera Kita Haite Monise Lagishta. He's basically saying, I'm more sinner than Jagai Madai, and I'm lower than the worm in the stool. So pretty graphic. And we have also to understand how to play out the implications of that. Of course, Jagai and Madai were born Brahmins, And they did not engage in apparat, interestingly. They only engaged in papa. In every papa you could conceive, that for sure, but not in apparat. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in full humility, he's thinking, okay, they are Brahmins and they are engaging in papa. I'm a so-called Vaishnava engaging in apparat. So naturally, I'm worse than Jagai Madai. I mean, you don't need to stretch the whole thing too much to identify with that and make that statement ours, basically. And when he's saying I'm lower than this worm in the stool, again, that may sound a little bit extreme, but there's a way to relate with that example in a sustainable way, healthy, realistic way. And so this is a famous example that once one guru, maybe you know the story, one guru was there and the disciple came and he wanted initiation. I mean, he was a prospective disciple, so he wanted initiation, but the guru could feel his Sampratishta is there yet. No, he doesn't have the proper level of humility that will give him the adhikar to really understand what's going on here in the name of initiation. So he just tested the disciple, as sometimes Jiva Goswami mentioned. Guru should test the disciple, not because he's distrusting him or her, but just to help him what's the actual price to be a disciple, what does it mean to be a disciple, and so on. So he said to the disciple, okay, I'll accept you as a disciple if you can find in the next 7 days someone who is, someone who is lower than you in every single way. So this disciple thought, oh, that will be easy. No? So in this way, he was starting to realize there's some homework to do here. So he said, I don't think it will take more than 7 minutes for to speak 7 days. No? But the guru gave the instructions, so there was some empowerment there that will play out, helping the disciple, as we know, we'll see, to realize a very important lesson. So he started to investigate the human species first, no? And trying to find someone who will be lower than him in every single aspect. So he tried hard and started to analyze one human, another human, one Vaishnava, another Vaishnava. And he will think generally, I mean, they're lower than me in almost everything, but always he will find something, I don't have that virtue. There's something to learn there. Let's go to the next one for sure. I will be fully superior. He already saw something else. So then he went to the animal kingdom. So he's okay, the birds. Oh, but I cannot fly like the birds. So they have something I don't have. He went to the water. Fish. Fish is not blinking. That they have something I do not have. That Sri Radha is praying to become a fish. So she doesn't have to have the obstruction of eyelids when contemplating Sri Hari. Imagine. And so on. So by the power of his guru's instruction, gradually he started to realize this idea. Okay, I'm learning from almost everyone. And it was the 6th day. So he only had 1 more day to be successful in his experiment, research. Because if he will fail, he thought, I won't get initiation. He was with this idea. If I don't find anyone lower than me in every respect, I won't be initiated. Well, of course, the idea of this lesson was when you realize basically you are below everyone else, you will be initiated. But he was not yet aware of the implications of that. So at one point, he's in anxiety in the last day, thinking, I will miss my initiation. He's attending the call of nature and passing a stool. So eventually he's thinking, okay, at least this stool is lower than me in every aspect. He was desperate trying to find something. But he already got some habit of seeing something positive in everything. So he was thinking the stool, no, but this stool originally was Mahaprasad offered to Bhagavan. And because I was hungry, it became a stool, but actually, so he started to think in those terms, and eventually a worm came in the stool. He said, oh, this is it. This is lower than me in every aspect. A worm in the stool. And he realized, No. No, because the worm in the stool is doing its job, and the stool will eventually become compost, if you will. I cannot do that. So his conclusion was, I'm lower than the worm in the stool. So after a week, he went to his Gurudev and said, Gurudev, I failed. I'm lower than even than the worm in the stool, so I'm not fitting to receive initiation. And he said, now you're prepared to receive initiation. So in this way, there's a place, my point, to feel extremely humble without the necessity of going neurotic. But we have to be skilled in how to navigate that, like this example here. So in one sense, there is a healthy way to feel I'm the lowest. But interestingly, this contrast, this paradox is there. The highest thing is coming to me, despite being the lowest. So that's a very interesting dynamics, because, I mean, I feel myself the lowest, and I feel the highest knocking on my door. So I mean, that should move our heart to tears, basically. That should melt ourselves from tip to toe. And this is the gift of Mahaprabhu. Anarpita charim tira karunayavatirunaka. Shamarpaitam. Anarpita, shamarpita. That which has not been given for a long time, samarpita. Now it's being offered fully, without discrimination. Extremely generous. Again, we are speaking here about Mahavadanya. Remember, we are speaking about this guna of Mahaprabhu. His qualities, extremely merciful. Extremely. To the point that we cannot even conceive that. But that's the nature of mercy. You don't deserve that. Sometimes we fail into the trap of thinking, okay, I have to accumulate some credit so I earn my mercy. And that disqualifies you immediately from the mercy department. Because, I mean, I'm not saying with this you can become lazy and beg for mercy. But the point is, no matter how much I make an effort, still I will never deserve that. Probably the more sincere effort I make, the more I realize how less I deserve that. The more I will increase my realization of how costless is that mercy. The more I do my part. So that's how it works. So be very careful, as Srila Siddhar Maharaj will say, of asking mercy for you, but when someone else is receiving mercy, saying, Krishna, why are you giving mercy to him? What did he make to receive that mercy? And Krishna will say, he did nothing. That's why he's receiving mercy. If he has some merit, that's justice. That's not mercy. We are speaking another department here. So as I like to say, to continually receive costless mercy means to continually be in a state of humility where I realize I do not deserve this no matter what I do. And that requires lots of humility. There's a price to pay for costless mercy. Costless mercy does not mean priceless mercy. Sometimes we may think costless mercy means I don't do anything and it comes. No, but you have to do something to detect that and to properly honor and host that gift. So you have to have extreme humility, because whatever is coming, you realize I do not deserve that. And no matter what I do not deserve that. So you have to remain humble to coexist for eternity with something you will never deserve. You follow my point? Because ego wants to deserve something. It's my merit. I did that. So if you want that, okay, you are transported to the Department of Justice. No? Cause and effect. You do something, you get what you deserve. But you are the loser in that moment. You follow my point? So actually, to remain in the Department of Mercy, in one sense, is more difficult than to remain in the Department of Justice. Because you have to have such humility to remain there. Sometimes that's not so easy. So we are thrown back, okay, Justice Department. You receive what you deserve. You follow my point? Yeah. So Mahaprabhu is being extremely merciful. He's giving this incomparable gift. But something is expected from us also. And that's a very unique type of humility. So anyhow, that's his guna, Mahavadanya. My point is, that's his guna, but we have to have some guna ourselves to honor that guna. He has that quality, but which quality I have to appreciate his quality? He's the most merciful, and we can say that so many times. But how I'm behaving and really, how to say, playing out my own belief, walking the talk. He's the most merciful. Let's see how you behave. How much with your example, you're telling me he's the most merciful. Basically. So that's Guna, Mahavadanya Avatar. Then Krishna Prem Pradayati. I only intend to speak about that for 5 minutes, but lost and found in Harikata, no problem. That's the goal. Lost and found there. So Mahaprabhu's Guna is most merciful, Mahavadanya. His Leela is Krishna Prem Pradaya. He's giving Krishna Prem. That's his Leela. Interesting. Different avatars of Bhagavan perform different Leelas. Which is Mahaprabhu's Leela? Krishna Prem Pradaya. Audarya Leela, in other words. Again, giving the highest to the lowest. His Prem Purushottam. His Leela Purushottam Sri Krishna, but tasting a very unique expression of Prem, Natoj Balarasam, and extending that to others. Premarasa Niriyasa Korita Shraddha Laga Marga Bhakti Loki Korita Prachana. So he's relishing a particular type of Prema Ras, and he's establishing in this world the dissemination of his own, of the extension of his own experience, if you will. So that's his Leela. And strictly speaking, because of that, we are being part of his Leela. Although we may lament, only 500 and something years ago, Mahaprabhu was here. I just missed for a few centuries what to do. But I can tell you, if you will be in Kali Yuga in 30,000 years more, they will speak of, oh, those people who were born just after 500 after Mahaprabhu, they were just part of his entourage, basically. No? But now we will think, oh no, this is so, whatever. I mean, there is a place for proper lamentation, but again, in a healthy way. So somehow we are part of that extended Sankirtan Leela, Audarya Leela. That's, I mean, if that's not the case, the temple will be empty. There will be no temple to begin with. The fact that all of us are here is because Audarya Leela, Sankirtan Leela, Krishna Prem Pradaya Leela still going on. So that's Mahaprabhu's Leela. We speak about Gaur Leela, of course we can say so many things, but technically speaking, his Leela is giving Prem. That's his main activity. Just by walking, giving Prem, just by being in silence, giving Prem, as he converted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in that way. How Mahaprabhu converted the topmost scholar in the whole planet, he just sat in front of him doing Mauna for a week. After that, he just said 2-3 words about Vedanta. That was checkmate. And Sarvabhauma was dancing and singing like a madman along with him. No? That's Mahaprabhu's Leela. No? That's how he gives Prem even. He doesn't need to say too much. No? To Venkatavata, he just joked a little bit. Why Lakshmi couldn't join Rasa Leela? And Venkatavata was like, wow. Prakasananda Saraswati, he sat on one corner, extreme humility, and all the sannyasis were already like moved by that. No? So much Prem is exuding from his pores that Mahaprabhu didn't need actually to say that much. He just needed to be there. No? Some people seeing him already converted. And if they were not converted by seeing him, he will raise his arms, converted. They were still not converted, some difficult case like myself. Mahaprabhu will start dancing and singing, converted. Even if you are a lost case and still you are there, Mahaprabhu will come and embrace you. And if still you are such a tricky fellow that can't escape Mahaprabhu's embrace, Mahaprabhu will tell to Nityananda Prabhu, this is for you. This case is for you. No? This is yours. You know what to do. That's Nitai's stance. No? He will be attracted to disqualification, basically. No? Like one devotee once put it, Nityananda's impartiality is he's partial to everyone. That's his being impartial. He's impartial, being partial to everyone. Anyhow, so Krishna Prem Pradayati, that's Mahaprabhu's Leela. So we went through Mahaprabhu's Guna and Leela. Then Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya. So his name is Krishna Chaitanya. Of course, this is his sannyas name. But we worship his sannyas. Of course, we are not in our eternal prospect in Nitya Navadvip. Mahaprabhu won't be a sannyasi. And that's why Mahaprabhu does not appear as a sannyasi in our altars generally. But nonetheless, his sannyas lila is totally worshipable for us because so many lessons are there, so much achar. Krishna is his acharya lila. Try to imagine. Krishna in Vrindavan still, of course, is teaching us so many things, but overtly, he doesn't behave like an acharya. But probably exactly the opposite. At least it seems so. But Mahaprabhu as sannyasi is actually showing the real achar present in Vrindavan. He's trying to put in place. Yeah, it seems illegal, but it's totally in place. So Mahaprabhu's Krishna Chaitanya, that's his name. Interestingly, Krishna Chaitanya is a very unique name given by Keshav Bharati. Not very usual name for a sannyasi, as you know. And Krishna Chaitanya means Krishna consciousness. We always speak about Krishna consciousness. It's another way of saying Krishna Chaitanya. So again, Krishna consciousness means the movement of Sri Chaitanya in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. And of course, Krishna consciousness can be also named for Sri Radha because there's nobody more Krishna conscious than her. If there's someone who is Krishna consciousness personified, Mahabhav Swarupini, Sri Radha Thakurani, that's she. And she's Krishna Kirtan herself. Again, we speak about Krishna Kirtan. She's the very embodiment of Krishna Kirtan. Nobody can speak Harikatha like her, and so on. So anyhow, that's one name of Mahaprabhu, Krishna Chaitanya. We continue speaking about that these days. And finally, his rupa, his form. And that comes in the verse, Gaura-Kathaamrita, which means basically he has a golden hue. Hue, is that it? Yeah. Okay. So he comes with the color. Bhagavan Shyam Sundar, and Shyam Sundar now becomes Gaur Sundar. So he's adopting Sri Radha's Bhava Dyuti. Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam Nomi Krishna Sarupan. In the words of Bhakti-Rakshakti Goswami, Mahaprabhu is accepting Sri Radha's heart and halo. He's accepting her inner mood, but her inner mood also becomes outwardly expressed in the form of bodily color. Because in Indian aesthetics, every color also speaks about emotion. And it is said that the color of Mahabhav is molten gold. So that's the color of Mahaprabhu. That's the color of Sri Radha. But Mahaprabhu is Krishna again, tasting Mahabhav. The other day, interestingly, one devotee told me, because we were speaking about this, about how Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna actually, Shyam Sundar, but being Shyam, but being Gaur. As I like to say, as you used to say, you say in English, right? Something is the new black. Yeah. So we say here, gold is the new black. Gaur is the new Shyam. So in Mahaprabhu, we find Krishna in his updated version, the new one. And this person told me that actually when you have molten gold, and she showed me some pictures, in between the gold, you find black, interestingly. She was making this connection. Okay, Mahaprabhu is molten gold, but still he's Shyam Sundar in the back. No? Anta Krishna Bahir Gauram, Sri Jiva Goswami say. Inside he's Krishna in the sense of he's Krishna, but externally he appears golden because he's tasting Radha Bhav. So again, Gaura-Kathaamrita, his form is golden, and this color is speaking about what he's relishing inside. So this is a very interesting idea that, with your permission, I'd like to continue and conclude today's presentation by trying to show how the real purpose for Mahaprabhu's appearance in this world and the inner reality of Mahaprabhu internally is ultimately Krishna in this unique, as I like to call, laboratory, making this experiment called tasting Radha Bhav. And that's a whole experiment. So now it could be seen as a laboratory where Krishna is totally absorbed passionately in being successful in tasting the mode of Sri Radha. So interestingly, if we go through the different biographies about Sri Chaitanya Dev, there are 7 main of them. I won't enter into the details, but we can see some progression in how the ontological position of Mahaprabhu is being depicted gradually, more and more, beginning with Murari Gupta's Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so on. Kavi Karnapur, Vrindavan Das Thakur, another one by Kavi Karnapur, Lochan Das. Finally, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. We consider Krishna Chaitanya Charitamrita as the final word, if you will, on Mahaprabhu, canonical text. So in the very beginning, the first biographies of Mahaprabhu will present more him in Puranic terms, if you will, like Vishnu-like. He's coming to kill the Asuras, to establish Yuga Dharma, like establishing Dharma in the world and killing the bad influences, which is, of course, a fact. And gradually, the more we go through the other biographies and get closer and closer to Chaitanya Charitamrita, we will find, if you will, the Madhurya side of Mahaprabhu, the feminine side to the equation. Ultimately, of course, Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, wanted to taste Radha, but wanted to fulfill 3 specific desires. So this is very nicely presented by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, especially in his Mangalacarana, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'd like to go through that today to begin, to conclude, our exposition, how in the very first 6 verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's gradually unfolding why Mahaprabhu came here actually, what's the ultimate purpose for his descent. And this is connected to the gift that we are invited to honor. So with your permission, I'll go through briefly. Don't be afraid, I will be brief. I mean, you at this point may already know me and don't believe me when I say I will be brief, but what to do? We have eternity for Harikatha, Kirtaniya Sarahari, Satatam Kirtayam Tamam, Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya, Katayanta Shramam Nityam, forever. So the first verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Bande Gurum Shavaktam Ishami Shavatarakam, Tat Prakasham Satak Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Samyakam. Again, each verse deserves a whole unique series of lectures in itself. So I'll try to summarize. Of course, the first 2 words of this verse and the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita speak very powerfully about a very important principle, which is Bande Gurum. Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying, I offer pranam to my gurus, in plural. Once I heard one devotee asking, speaking about other devotees, said, I don't understand how he can have more than one guru. And I was thinking, maybe you skip the first 2 words of Chaitanya Charitamrita or something. No. And if you skip those 2 words, probably you won't understand the whole rest of the treatise. So we have to be careful. Sometimes we skip this very first basic, crucial aspects and jump into, let's go to Ramananda Sambad. But Bande Guru first. Hopefully that's in place. There's a plurality of gurus, and it's important to make a place. Like we were speaking also the other day in Michigan with the devotees about Maharaj Parikshit's acceptance of Sukadev Goswami as his guru, which is basically one of the first points in the Bhagavad, in one sense. And which is that point? Well, Parikshit Maharaj is a person that you could say he had lots of experience in the world. He was an emperor, he was a mature person, adult, with criteria and so many things, and a great devotee for sure. But when he had to accept his guru, who was his guru? 16-year-old naked boy. Externally, of course. So my point is, sometimes you may idealize, okay, my guru has to be like this, like that, and generally you won't put all these conditions that Sukadev Goswami was exhibiting. But Maharaj Parikshit could see through that and realize, oh, Sri Gurudev is there. Guru Tattva is approaching me. He surrendered beyond the form. So my point is, if we don't pay close attention to that and may get entangled into the relativity of what to expect from Sri Guru, we may miss the whole purpose of the Bhagavatam. And that's right at the very beginning of the Bhagavatam. Be a Saragrahi, in the words of Thakur Bhaktivinoda. Be an essence seeker. Don't become a Bharavahi, a baggage carrier that is only burdened with relativities and externalities. Of course, there are some things that we are to look for in a guru, but that's not age, race, long dreadlocks, or whatever. Coping, not coping. And Sukadeva Goswami didn't wear a coping. He was younger than Parikshit. Try to imagine, way younger. But Parikshit could see, he's my guru. And as we see, not only that, but Narada and Vyasa, they could see, Sukadeva will speak Bhagavatam. Let's hear that. They didn't say, oh, he's my child, what he will teach me. And the other one, oh, he's the child of my disciple. I won't learn everything. The two of them were in the first line, in ecstasy, hearing Bhagavad from Sukadeva. So these are basic important points for us to not miss the rest of the content. So same verse here, first verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, one day Gurun. There's plurality of gurus. Nahi ekasmat gurur gyanam sustiram shatsupushkalam brahmaitara dvitiyam bhagi ate bahudari shvi. Says the Bhagavatam. The absolute truth is absolute, and therefore there are unlimited vantage points through which you can approach that reality. So you cannot receive every single possible perspective from one single person. So there is place for learning from a plurality of gurus. There is place for that. So anyhow, this verse is offering pranam to Sri Guru, and then to the different principles connected to the Pancha Tattva, to the Bhakta, to Bhagavan, to Prakash, to the expansion of the Lord, to Avatar, divine descent, and to Shakti, in this case personified by Pandit Sri Gadadhar, who is the embodiment of Sarup Shakti, who is Sri Radha in Gaur Lila. That's another chapter altogether. Hopefully we can get there at some point. So my point is, in this first verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj is not yet unfolding anything about Mahaprabhu's actual reasons for appearing in the context of tasting Radha Bhav. He's mentioning general pranam mantra to him, to Panch Tattva, through Sri Guru, in plural. In the next verse, second verse, Bande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahatito Godadai Pushpavanto Chitra Sangho Tamonado. This is a pranam mantra to Sri Sri Gaur Nityananda, who are considered as the Samasti Gurus of the whole Gaudiya Sampradaya. So it is say, I offer my pranam to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, to Sri Nityananda. Saharito Godadai Pushpavantu Chitra Sangha. They appear simultaneously in the horizon of Godadesh, Bengal, West Bengal, and like the sun of the moon simultaneously, which of course that speaks about something not of this world. You will never see the sun of the moon appearing at the same time. One is appearing, the other is disappearing. But they are appearing at simultaneously, which speaks this out of this world totally. And they are coming tamonudo, to dissipate darkness, and chitra sangdo, to bestow benediction upon all. So again, this verse is not directly mentioning anything about Mahaprabhu coming to taste Radha Bhav and so on, but it's hinting at that, saying they came to bestow a wonderful benediction upon all. So at this point, you may start to ask, wow, what's that wonderful benediction? So of course, next verse we'll have to say a little bit more and a little bit more. So the third verse, we will see how expertly Krishnadas Kaviraj is giving us little bites in installments, so we can gradually learn to properly digest this. Puna puna charvita charvananam. Prahlad say in the Bhagavatam. Of course, he said that in another context. He said material life means chewing that thing that has been chewed. But we in Harikatha are trying to do that same exercise. Chewing what has been chewed. Srila Gurudev heard something, he's chewing that, he's giving it to us, Mahaprasad. So we are trying to process that. Puna puna charvita charvananam. So the third verse says, Jadadvaitam Brahmopanishadi Tatapya Syat Anubha Jad Mantaryami Purushaiti Sosham Shabhibhava Sadaishwarya Purna Jaiha Bhagavan Sasayamayam Na Chaitanya Krishna Jagati Paratattvam Paramiha. This is a very interesting verse. This is a Basta-nirdesh shlok of the Mangalacarana here in Chaitanya Charitamrita. As you know, every Mangalacarana has Basta-nirdesh, Namaskar, and Ashirvad shloka. This is Basta-nirdesh, the verse that basically points at the substance of the whole Mangalacarana. It's kind of a parallel with the Badanti Tattvavidas verse in the Bhagavatam, speaking about Brahman, Paramatman, Bhagavan. Here is saying, no, that thing, he who, what the Upanishad describe as a Brahman is but the effulgence of his body. No? What the scriptures speak about Paramatma is just his localized plenary portion. This Mahaprabhu is Bhagavan himself, not only Bhagavan, but Swayam Bhagavan, Krishna's too Bhagavan Swayam. And interestingly, the last line he's saying, there is no other truth equal nor greater than him. So interestingly, this verse is connecting Mahaprabhu. Again, still, Krishnadas is not saying, Radha Bhav, that's coming. Be patient, wait for a few minutes. But here he's saying, Brahman is one aspect of him, Paramatma is another aspect of him. He's Bhagavan. There are many forms of Bhagavan, but he's Swayam Bhagavan. Krishna's too Bhagavan Swayam. So he's making this important connection. And then he says, Paratattvam Jaganiha, Paratattvam Paramiha. Sorry. There's no other truth equal or greater than him. So in a very subtle way, he's also implying there is something special in Mahaprabhu that is not even to be found in Krishna and Vrindavan. Of course, Mahaprabhu is Krishna. Try to bear in mind, I'm not speaking about two different personalities. But Braja Krishna, appearing as Mahaprabhu, is experiencing something that, as we know, is unknown to him in the Braja Lila. There is a speciality about who Mahaprabhu is about. What is he tasting? And by extension, what we can taste. And then comes the fourth verse. Anarpita charim chirat karunayavatirnakalu shamarpaitamunnatas balarasam svabhaktishyam haripurata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipita sadahridaye kandaresh purato vasachinandana. So this is the Ashirvad slok of the Mangalacharan, the verse of blessing. It was originally composed by Rupa Goswami, Vidagda Madhav. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is taking that here. And basically the verse is saying, may Sri Sachinandan, the son of Sachi, be transcendentally situated in the innermost chamber or cave in your heart. The word Hari comes in this verse. Hari can mean many things. One of them is lion. So, and he's saying, may this transcendental lion roar in the innermost cave of my heart. That's the blessing that is invoked in the Ashirvad here. And then he describes Mahaprabhu. He's resplendent with like molten gold, and he appeared in Kali Yuga to give that thing that no avatar has previously given ever. And what's that? Unnata Ujjvala Rasam Swabhaktishriyam. His own experience of bhakti in connection to Unnata Ujjvala Rasa. You know, Ujjvala Rasa has to do with Madhurya Bhav. And of course, Mahaprabhu's own experience is that of Radha Bhav. Again, still the word Radha Bhav is not coming, but Unnata Ujjvala Rasa is there. And the extended experience of what he is experiencing is the highest reach of the Gaudiya Sampradaya in the form of Bhavalasratya or Radhadasya. So here, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is gradually revealing a little bit more how Mahaprabhu, Swayam Bhagavan Gaur Sundar, has this special feature of Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna. He's coming to give something that nobody else gave before, not even Krishna in Vrindavan, which implies he's tasting something before giving that Krishna himself did not taste before. So Mahaprabhu is tasting, but he's not a selfish taster. It's not like, oh, this is so incredible and that's all, that's my lila. But he's giving whatever he's tasting as much as he can. So this Bhavalas Rati, Manjari Bhav, Radha Dasyam, the highest race of Gaudiya Sampradaya is being facilitated by Mahaprabhu's tasting of Radha Bhav. Bhavalas Rati is like the extension of Mahaprabhu's own experience that the Tatastha Jiva can attain by his grace. So again, here it's not directly mentioned Mahaprabhu descended to taste Radha Bhav with this particular desire, but Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is building the stage to make that bold statement, which is very bold. I mean, we have to travel in time and understand these type of texts are like establishing the Sampradaya. At that time, for many, it was like, oh, you are saying that this Bengali boy is God? No? Now we come to the temple and, okay, there's Mahaprabhu, he's Krishna, and the other, okay, we accept from there. But in those times, in those places, for many people, it's like, I mean, in India, you have a new avatar every single day around the corner. You know? So now these Gaudiyas are saying that this Bengali boy is not only God, but Krishna himself, and in this unique experience, you have to justify that somehow. So this, our Goswamis, they prepare the ground, they compose all the theology. So we could enter the temple and from day one say, okay, that's God, Mahaprabhu. Thank you. They made it very easy to us. I mean, they made the hard work. Srila Bhakti-Rakshakdev Goswami said that. He said, Mahaprabhu came to garland the world with a garland of jewels. And the Goswami, through their writings, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami included, they took the jewels and they made the holes in the jewels, which is not an easy work to do, to make a hole in the jewel without destroying it. And our work is to put the thread in the holes. Pretty hard work, right? In comparison to what they have done. They have given out everything in golden plate. No? Srila Sridhar Maharaj will say that also once. He said, Mahaprabhu, the Goswamis, Guru Jans, they are giving us everything in golden plate, and the only thing they are requesting from us is a little bit of collaboration to take the gift. And it sounds, only that? Yeah, only that. But sometimes it's difficult for you to only do that. Just put your hand and trust the giver. Sometimes it's difficult because, I don't know, it sounds so incredible, it's so high, costless mercy. I don't know. Like this famous painting, I think of Michelangelo. How's it in English? Michelangelo? Michelangelo, thank you. That God is kind of trying like to extend desperately, giving something. And on the other side, the Bhada Jiva is like, I think I have to think about this proposal for a while. And God is like desperate, trying to extend as much as he can, like, take it. You need it more than ever. And the other one is like, I'm not so sure.
No trust.
Sorry?
No trust.
Yeah, exactly. No? So we have to, our homework is trusting the intention of the giver, trying to develop faith, deep faith in the intentions of Guru Vaishnavas. They are really coming to give us unconditional love. And I understand, we are not accustomed to experience unconditional love in this world. So if we meet that, it may sound too good to be true sometimes. So we might like, is it that charming? Maybe there's some weird thing behind. So we are like, But gradually the mercy of Guru and Vaishnava will dissolve all those defense mechanisms. So someday we come, okay, give me the gift and do our part. Anyhow, we have two more verses before finishing in this Mangalacarana. Let's go to the verse number 5, where Krishnadas Kaviraj is a little bit more unfolding this point. Radha Krishna pranaya vikritir ladini shakti rasmat ekatmanoapi bhuvipura deha vidamgadoto chaitanyakyam prakatam adhuna tadvayam chaikyam aptam radha bhavat yuti shruvalitam naumi Krishna sarupam. So here, Krishnadas Kaviraj is becoming a little bit more explicit, mentioning how the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna are a manifestation of Ladini Shakti, of the internal pleasure potency of Bhagavan. And although Radha and Krishna are one, in Tattva, they're one soul, they appear in two bodies with the purpose of rasa, with love in exchange. So they separate. The one is appearing in two forms from time immemorial, there's no point in time, and these two now are becoming one again, as he's saying, in the form of Sriman Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Dev. And he ends up saying, Radha Baba Dyuti Suvalitam Nomi Krishna Sarupam. I bow down to him, who is Krishna himself, with the mood and the hue of Sri Radha. So now this is becoming more and more explicit. Here Radha is mentioned for the first time in the Mangalacarana. Radha Bhava Dyuti. So Mahaprabhu is coming with the bhava and with the duty, with the mood, emotion, and the hue of Sri Radha. Just. Shri Gaur Radha Govinda Ji ki jai. So Sriman Mahaprabhu again is Krishna. We say it's Radha and Krishna combined, but actually it's Krishna in the mood of Radha. In that sense, they are combined in a dynamic way. Because as we will see, still Radha is there in Gaur Leela as Gadadhar Pandit. So in one sense, Radha remains there, and Mahaprabhu is Krishna tasting the mood of Sri Radha. So it seems that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami at this point has said everything, but still he has not mentioned why Mahaprabhu is Krishna tasting the mood of Radha. What's taking him to go through that experience? So that will be finally unfolded in the next verse, which is the 6th verse of the Mangalacarana of Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami will present the 3 desires that take Krishna to descend as Gaur avatar. Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisha Vana Jaiba Charya Jena Bhuta Madhuri Ma Kidrisha Vamadiya Saukyam Chasya Madanubhavata Kidrisham Beti Lovat Tat Bhavadya Samajani Sachi Gharava Sindhu Harindu. It's a very nice verse who mentions these 3 desires. Krishna desires to understand the glories of Radha's love, Radha Pranaya. What's the love she's feeling for me? Krishna cannot grasp that from his own vantage point, the Vishaya. Which are the qualities that she's perceiving in me? What's she seeing in me that makes her who she is? So enchanting for me. She's seeing something in me, but I cannot understand what she's seeing in me. And finally, what's the happiness that she derives by perceiving that beauty in me? So with these 3 desires in mind, and richly endowed with her emotions, Bhagavan Shri Krishna desires to appear through the womb, ocean-like womb of Sachi Devi, in the form of Sriman Mahaprabhu. So here finally Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, as you see, very gradually he's unfolding who Mahaprabhu is about, what the Chaitanya Charitamrita is about. First, Mahaprabhu, Gaur Nityananda, and giving something wonderful, and he's Bhagavan, and he's no truth greater than him, and he's coming to give something unique, and Nata Ujjvala Rasa, and he's Krishna in the mood of Radha, and he's coming in that mood to taste these 3 particular things. So he's culminating this verse saying, because of that, he's appearing in this world through the ocean-like womb of Sachi Devi. As we know, we celebrate that called Shri Shri Gaur Purnim. So Gaur Purnim is Mahaprabhu is coming in the mood of Radha. In that sense, Radha and Krishna combined. Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahayanya, Rupa Noga Janira Jivana, sings Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna combined. And to speak about how Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna combined, Rupa Noga Janira Jivana, that's the life and soul of all the Rupa Noga Vaishnavas, to spend their time, their life, hearing and speaking about Mahaprabhu and how he's descending and so on. So he's appearing this way, interestingly, as Srila Siddhar Maharaj likes to say, poetically. Gaur Purnim. Today is not Gaur Purnim, but we are speaking about that. So Purnim means what? What's the meaning of Purnim? Full moon. Mahaprabhu appearing on full moon. So Krishna appearing on Purnim? Ashtami. What means Ashtami? Half moon. Sri Radha is appearing on? Which means half moon. So you put 2 half moons together, you have Purnim. That's appearance of Mahaprabhu, Radha and Krishna combined. And interestingly, to add to the equation, if we want to think for a minute about Gadadhar Pandit being Sri Radha, giving her bhav to Krishna as Mahaprabhu, emptying herself so Krishna can be successful, on which day Gadadhar Pandit is being born. Which means,
No.
I hope you catch the poetic implication. Mahaprabhu is full moon, Gadadhar, who is rather giving herself fully to Krishna, no more, empty. Gadadhar is appearing on Amavasya, Gadadhar is disappearing of Amavasya, interestingly. And the two times his appearance and disappearance is through the summer of India. So the hottest season, the darkest season, to add further poetic layer to that. I will speak about Gadadhar Pandit maybe some of these other days. And tomorrow we have Harikatha again, so we will try to continue unpacking some further implications of Gaur-Tattva, Gaur-Katha. But I think today we can put our discussion to rest, unless, I don't know, if there's some minutes, if someone has any questions. We have some minutes. Okay, you let me know whenever we have to close. So I don't know if there's there are any questions or comments, something you might like to share to those connected online as well. Yes, remind me your name, sorry.
Money.
Oh, do you want to?
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
It doesn't work.
Oh, it's not
You
working?
mentioned that Jagayama Highway were great sinners, so they committed all sins possible, but they never committed aparad. Could you please explain the difference between aparad and sin, and how possible to commit all the sins and not to commit any aparad?
Yeah, somehow they were selective in their sinning, something. I mean, that's what we hear from Shastra, you know? That's not like my own creation, just in case. But that's what is mentioned. I would say, like, to make also the point, like, you can be such a sinner, but that's not the same as aparad. Of course, this is not also okay, so I'm not, to start to calculate, and I can sin, so it's not as grave as aparad, because that becomes aparad. If you understand the seventh nama aparad, means to sin on the strength of chanting. So if you that being aware of this becomes aparad, but if you are doing in a naive, if you will, way, I mean, not so naive if you're a sinner, but at least not aware of that. So my Guru Maharaj likes to speak about aparad and sin. Like aparad, sin, or papa, he will define like a sins of the flesh, an aparad like a sin of the soul. In the sense of, and I was today studying Bhakti Sandarbhan, and Jiva Goswami further makes that point with different statesmen, famous Apichet Sudaracharo, Bhajanti Mamananyabhak, and this type of statesmen, where it is said that if a devotee somehow transgresses Dharma Shastras, he's mentioning there, that doesn't mean that he's falling or she's falling from his Vaishnava platform. Again, not in a calculated way, no, not planned, but because bhakti is way above. I mean, bhakti is nirgun, so bhakti has nothing to do with whatever connection we may have with the gunas in one way or another. Bhakti is not affected by that. But if we attack bhakti, because bhakti basically aparad means, and I know this is a delicate word. I remember some months ago I was giving a class on this. We were studying Brahma Stuti, and there's one verse which basically Brahma is begging forgiveness for his aparad. I mean, all the stuti is basically that, but this was specifically. So I used the word offense and aparad a few times, and that somehow triggered some, like what I would say, generational trauma in some members of the audience, that just hearing the word aparad or offense were like, Maharaj, we are not here on a guilt trip. And that person was not saying that from a bad intention or something, but I could feel, I mean, I was not promoting a guilt trip, and that's not my mood, to be honest. But somehow the very word can, because you may relate that with so many connotations, so that word was presented in such a way that you associate that with whatever past experience, and I don't want to hear that. Well, actually, the word aparat basically means to go against love, to do those things which are not promoting love. I'm not saying that you are a ultra demon with the worst intention. I'm saying just that you are in this path because you want love. So hopefully you will understand those things that go against love won't be favorable. So aparat basically means like you're, as I like to say, biting the hand that is feeding you. So bhakti is feeding you, and you attack bhakti. So of course doesn't make sense, but sometimes nonetheless we do those things that doesn't make sense. But generally speaking, I would say aparat has more to do with having a bad intention, having the heart not in the right place. It's not so much about, how to say, I mean, some devotee may not know about, okay, you shouldn't eat with this hand or walk in this way, or this technicality that is well considered an aparat. If you are not aware, I mean, till which point you can say that's aparat? No, you didn't know. And maybe when you know, you stop doing that. So, but if you know and you still do that, that's the offense, if you say, no. So I would say Papa has more to do with, as you know, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mad. But it's interesting because, for example, in his Mana Siksha, Raghunath Das Goswami put so much emphasis in avoiding those things. And one of the, at least I think one could think like, because I once thought, why he's emphasizing this so much? Well, because if you express Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mad, and Moha, Matsarya in relation to Vaishnava, that's no longer Papa, that's aparat. You follow? So there's every chance that your Papa tendency, if it's expressing in relationship to the Vaishnava, becomes aparat and it's no longer Papa. So that's sometimes why we are receiving this strong emphasis on do not fall into Kama, Krodha, Lobha, and so on. So when aparat is being committed, also it's important to understand it's not that aparat is more powerful than bhakti, because we hear bhakti retires in aparat, but it's not that aparat is more powerful and is kicking bhakti out or something. But just Bhakti Devi is not pleased, satisfied with that situation. So she will retire, as we were speaking some time ago. So we stop attacking her because aparat means attacking Bhakti Devi. So Bhakti Devi will retire. So you stop committing that much aparat, stop attacking her, and you can have some moment, hopefully, of introspection and proper repentance. And when that's in place, of course, she will return. It's not that lost forever. No? We know how to proceed when aparat takes place. And Shastra is saying probably some aparat is going on, because if there will be no aparat, you will just chant half a syllable of Srinam and you're done. Done and gone. You know? But that's not happening generally. So Bhagavatam or Acharya say some aparat is there, not to go neurotic again, but to just be realistic and try to become more. That's an invitation for introspection. Not to take for granted, I'm chanting, I'm being a devotee, I'm paka. I'm not doing it. No, but if the real fruits of all this are not coming, as the Shastra is saying, there is something I should explore a little bit more deeply. And by doing that, for sure, insight will be there, introspection will be there, and proper repentance. Mahaprabhu said, Urdaiva midrishami hajjani nanura. All the things are in Srinam, Namnama Karibahuta, and so on. But I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction. And the commentators explain the Durdaivam, or lack of fortune, that Mahaprabhu expresses is anarthas. And especially the special anartha, special in this case is aparat. So again, these situations are opportunities to get more introspective, and of course, when we are sincere, Bhakti Devi is always there. So I will say basically, of course, so many more things could be said, but some words regarding Papa and aparat. No? So aparat has to do with bhakti, and Papa has to do with illicit activities outside of the bhakti circle. But when you do those same activities in connection to the bhakti circle, they become aparad. Yes,
So
sir.
the Rad is not Radha, because I always heard that Aparad was against Radha.
Well, some acharyas have mentioned that. Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj makes that connection. He mentions Radha is the personification of divine love. So you can say aparada means that which goes against Radha, in the sense of it's not that necessarily you are offending Radha, like verbally pointing to her, but if you are somehow abusing the principle of bhakti, I mean, she is the ultimate embodiment of that. So by implication, she's included in the equation, if you will. So in that sense, means we are supposed to be serving that principle, but in this case, we are attacking that. So it's not what we are supposed to do. Yeah.
Srila Gurudev gave a really nice explanation of the Gadadhar Pandit emptying himself.
Hmm.
And he mentioned that, like in the verse Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam, that Radhika's prema is so vast that though she gave everything to Krishna to taste her mood, that still she was full. And in fulfilling her own desire, because like Krishna had 3 desires, Radhika also had desires. One desire is that in Krishna Lila, because Madhurya Rasa has one feature called Prachanamukata, it means it must be kept hidden. So only when Akrura came and was taking Krishna on the chariot, that time, Gopi, Vishudalaja, Rudasmastu Saram, Govinda Damada, Ramanati, they first time expressed openly their love. But in the form of Gadadhar Pandit, every day I talk to Gopinath, now Radhika in the mood of Gadadhar could openly speak to Vyanjan Vritti Srimad Bhagavatam and express all her moods. In the form of Radhika, sometimes Krishna would go for Gochar and other things she could not associate. Also, their Durabhat means their meeting has to be tough. It's not easy. Krishna can't knock on the door and Yavad, Radhika, like this. So, but now as Gadadhar Pandit, openly, eagerly Mahaprabhu would run to Tota Gopinath to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. And Gadadhar could even break his Kshetra Sannyas and follow Mahaprabhu. So the desire to be in association with Mahaprabhu, she also accomplished. Also, she saw that Krishna, because of Yayatamam Prapajante, he's not the kantik. He must by design appease so many devotees. But now in the form of Mahaprabhu, she could see he's a kantik. Only desire to understand Krishna. So Radhika had these desires fulfilled. So though she gave all of her praying, because her praying is so complete, she's the embodiment of praying, still she remained full. So he gave this analysis.
Shri Gadadhar Pandit ki jai. Thanks so much for sharing, Mukunda Prabhu. He's given a trailer of what we will be speaking next week, actually. That's a good one. That's a good one. Thanks so much.
One question, Mark.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if the internal feature of Mahaprabhu's appearance and the reasons for his appearance are necessarily connected to the external reasons for his appearance. Because we hear, of course, the internal desires of Mahaprabhu you spoke today. And also the external feature of his pastimes, Adorya Lila, both to his inner circle of his associates and the associates of other incarnations. That is one kind of Adorya, but then also broader Adorya to all of the jivas. So I guess my question is there an interdependence of these two aspects of his Lila, that in order for Mahaprabhu to properly taste Radha, also this Adorya feature must be there. And in order for Adorya to be done properly or completely, also that Mahaprabhu must be in Radha. Is there a connection between these two?
Do you have 2 more hours? That's a very nice question. I mean, I'll be brief, but it deserves lots of unfolding. It's a very important one. Of course, in brief, the answer could be yes, but we could say much more about that. But yes, in many ways, the two of them are connected, because Mahaprabhu's inner tasting, if you will, becomes something that starts to overflow him, and that in one way becomes his prachar. Now, his own achar becomes prachar, and that's even tied to the term. Prachar, sometimes we translate preaching, but technically speaking, means etymologically speaking, pra-achar means a very special type of achar. That's pra-achar. Achar means one's own conduct, if you will. So a very special type of behavior, that's what we call prachar. And Mahaprabhu showed that, as we mentioned. He was just sitting without saying anything, but his achar was so powerful, what he was about internally, that it overflow and sprinkle others. I mean, ideally, that's the best type of preaching. Not so much I try to convince you about something that I'm not that convinced myself, maybe. And I need to convince all of you, so you convince me that, okay, all of you end up chanting, so I must be in the right place because everyone else is doing that. That's not substantial preaching. No? Real preaching is first I expand in myself and external expansion follows. First there is inreach, outreach follows. So Mahaprabhu was tasting something, main purpose for his descent, but that tasting started to overflow and sprinkle. So that's connected to his Juga Dharma and distribution. And of course, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami connects this to the 4th chapter of Adi Lila, where he's mentioning how Krishna decides, okay, I will descend in this particular way to taste Radha Bhav. And he says, at that moment, if you want to put it in one point in history, Advaita Acharya was calling the Yuga avatar to descend. And there was some coincidence, you say? No? So when Advaita Acharya was worshipping Shalagram with Tulsi Manjaris and Gangajal, and calling and crying, Bhagavan descend. At that precise moment, Bhagavan said, I want to taste this specific balance. So no? The two of them combined. So Mahaprabhu is coming. It has his Yuga avatar side, which is descending by the call of Advaita. Some acharyas will mention, and his Swayam Bhagavan side is coming also by the chanting of Haridas Thakur. No? And that's why also at the end of the Leela, when Advaita Acharya is sending this mystical poem to Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu retires his Yuga avatar function and enters the Gambhira and exclusively dedicates himself to cultivate sequentially, progressively the main desire. So yeah, these two are interconnected like an inevitable consequence of the other. Mahaprabhu is tasting something, and what we say is Audarya Lila. Audarya means the distribution of Madhurya. And before Mahaprabhu to distribute that, he has to taste that first. So this connection is always coming. For example, when Mahaprabhu as a sannyas is traveling to South India, in one sense we could say that's part of his sannyas dharma. Sannyas is expected to travel, and he's engaged in the Juga Dharma, Juga Avatar function, distributing Harinam in his journey. But the main purpose of that is meeting Rai Ramananda and being instructed by him. And that instruction will become then more specific in the Gambhira. So the two things are mixing there again. Secondary purpose, Yuga Avatar, preaching, traveling, but being schooled about tasting Radha Bhav by Ramananda. So we see how these two intermingle constantly in his Leela. But again, at one point of the Leela, when Advaita Acharya invites the Yuga Avatar portion of Mahaprabhu to retire, saying him, everyone is crazy and the rice in the market, this mystic poem that nobody could understand. But Mahaprabhu realized, became very grave and said, okay. Yeah, and he entered the Gambhira. He realized everyone is crazy with Krishna Prem. The Yuga Avatar function is successful. Now you fully dedicate to attaining what you came to attain ultimately. So that's when he stops being a public person and enters the Gambhira. And in that moment, we could say he's no longer performing the Yuga Avatar function, but at that time, of course, he empowered Nityananda Prabhu to go to Bengal and so many others, like continuing with that current, if you will. But yeah, it's very interesting to continually connect these two currents, if you will, no? The internal purpose, external purpose, and how actually they are not divorced from one another.
Interesting, Maharaj, because actually in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it's written there, he had written the Shishashtakam earlier.
Yeah.
He wrote the Shishashtakam as a manual how to practice bhakti. In the Antya Lila, when he speaks Shishashtakam, it's in the bhav of the mood after the poem of Advaita Acharya. So the meaning of Shishashtakam, for Mahaprabhu was tasting versus the original writing of it was different. So that was very helpful to me, Maharaj, because now understanding he wrote in the Yuga Avatar duty mood how to practice bhakti. But once he recited it in the Gambhira and the Anjalila, he's tasting those moods. There's so many deep moods in Shastra.
Yeah, that's mentioned that he spoke that some of the verses first to Suklambar Brahmachari, and then when he's tasting that in the Gambhira, the very last verse of Sikshastakam, Srisha Bapalratam Pinas, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami will say after that, this verse was spoken by Radha.
Yes.
He didn't say this verse was spoken by Mahaprabhu.
Exactly.
Say by Radha, implying he did it. He attained what he wanted to attain. He's successful. And that's at the end of Chaitanya Charitamrita, basically. He said, this verse was spoken by Radha, end of the treatise. And all of us are celebrating Mahaprabhu's Gaur Lila is successful. Because as my Guru Maharaj likes to say poetically, for Krishna, Krishna Lila was failure. Because he wanted to taste something that he was not able to taste, and another Lila was necessary for that. So in that other Lila, Mahaprabhu made it and spoke the Sikshastakam in his second or last version of it at the very end of his Lila in the context of fully relishing Radha Bhav. So yeah, it's a very interesting contribution. Thanks so much. Okay, so I think we are in time now.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there Arti?
We are taking now. Okay. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Gaur Radha Govinda ji ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Preman Hari Gaur Vancha Kalpataru Vischa Kripa Sindhu Bhiva Chapatitan Pavanekya Vaishnavi Namo Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Hari Gaur.